Honestly, I'm tired of these NBA Europe updates. One day it's we're exploring ideas, the other it's we're planning to start in the 2026-27 season, and now it's we're at least a couple of years away from launching. That last part, by the way, is a direct quote from Adam Silver at the beginning of June 2025. So, is NBA Europe happening anytime soon? At this point, I'm really skeptical, and here's why. If you haven't seen my earlier videos on this, here's the quick version. The NBA's been flirting with Europe for decades, starting with David Stern's dream of a Europe division in the NBA, and continuing with Adam Silver's games in London and Paris that always sell out. The idea is simple. If fans in Europe are already watching the NBA and following stars like Jokic, Giannis or Luka, why not bring the product closer? The problem, of course, Europe already has the EuroLeague, a direct competitor in the same market. Then you add in FIBA, who's had a rocky relationship with EuroLeague for years now, and they claim that the NBA won't do anything without them. So here we are at this weird triangle of the NBA, EuroLeague and FIBA, who are at the verge of these huge reforms in European basketball. Now here's what's new. In the last few months, Adam Silver and Mark Tatum have started revealing actual information about the NBA's plans. The most specific version we've heard is that they're working on a new 16-team league. 12 teams would have permanent spots and 4 would qualify each year. It would be run by the NBA in partnership with FIBA and based in Europe, but it wouldn't follow NBA rules. Instead, it would use FIBA rules, court dimensions, 40-minute games, all that. Tatum also shared some details on the kinds of markets the NBA is targeting. It's clear from the very beginning. NBA Europe's goal is to establish itself through those European markets that have the biggest commercial potential. We're talking Madrid, Paris, London, Berlin, and so on. But recently he also said, quote, "There's a role in our league for teams from Eastern Europe." Specifically, he mentioned Greece, Serbia, Turkey, and Israel as the regions they want involved in this project. All 4 of those countries already have a deep basketball culture and clubs that really define EuroLeague in a way. What that shows to me is that the NBA now seems to be a bit more open to having some of the most passionate and established fan bases from the start. In other words, it's not just looking at who's the biggest and richest metropolitan area, but actually considering the basketball side of it too. Already a bit more plausible options than those talks about a Man City basketball team, for example. It's also been confirmed that the league wouldn't have traditional owners. It would be a centralized model where all the teams are owned collectively by the league, just like the BAL that the NBA started in Africa 6 years ago. Which also means that traditional EuroLeague clubs that would move would have to give up independent control and operate under NBA governance. On paper, it kinda sounds credible, but in reality, it opens a new set of questions. Because if you are a EuroLeague team, why would you want to give up ownership and join a league where you don't control your own club? For clubs that aren't part of EuroLeague's 13 shareholders, that actually might be appealing for stability purposes. And on the other side, if you're the NBA, are you really going to build this from scratch without any of the big European teams on board? Meanwhile, the EuroLeague isn't just sitting around waiting. They announced they are expanding from 18 to 20 teams starting from the 2025-26 season. Valencia is coming back, Dubai is joining, and the EuroCup winner Hapoel Tel Aviv is getting a 1-year license. At the same time, Alba Berlin is leaving and moving to the Basketball Champions League, which is run by FIBA. Same with Gran Canaria and Juventud Badalona, they're both leaving EuroLeague's second-tier competition EuroCup for BCL 2. Another very important angle is that NBA Europe isn't the only expansion on the NBA's radar. Adam Silver recently mentioned that multiple expansion sites are being seriously considered, including Las Vegas, Seattle, Montreal, Vancouver, and Mexico City.
Many have reached out to us to say they're interested. Our reaction so far has been, thank you for your interest. We haven't taken any meetings with any cities.
The top 2 candidates still are Seattle and Vegas. One has already had an NBA team in the past, and the other has been the worst kept secret for years, with people like LeBron showing interest in ownership. What this means for Europe is 2 things. First, it shows that the NBA is clearly on an expansion mode globally, not just focused on Europe. And second, it raises the question of priority. If the league decides to expand domestically first, NBA Europe might get delayed simply because there's limited resources and they probably want to get one major move right before doing the next. So, as I said at the start, it's quite a messy situation. situation. The NBA is planning its own expansion, the EuroLeague is expanding already, the EuroCup is shrinking, and the Champions League is growing. Plus, the NBA is quietly meeting with everyone behind closed doors. It's like every league is trying to secure their piece of the puzzle before someone else takes it. Which brings me to what all of this actually means for NBA Europe. Because this isn't just about building a new league, it's about convincing the biggest brands in Europe to leave their current situation and take a risk. And that's not as simple as it sounds. Most EuroLeague clubs have long-term licenses. They've also just extended their commercial partnership with IMG until 2036. But the fine print says clubs can leave either altogether without paying any fees or one by one if they pay a buyout. So technically, yes, they could make the jump all at once or one by one, but would they? That's where I start getting skeptical. As ambitious as the NBA's plan sounds, it also relies on a lot of maybes. Maybe Real Madrid wants to join. Maybe Barcelona is interested. Maybe Panathinaikos or Fenerbahce are on the radar. Maybe some football clubs that don't even have basketball teams like PSG or Man City suddenly decide to start one. But all of that is theoretical. Meanwhile, EuroLeague already has stability, IMG backing, history, and a core fanbase. Sure, it's not perfect, but it exists and has plans to grow. When it comes to things like arenas, budgets, and travel, European basketball still has a long way to go to reach NBA standards. And then there's the money. Everyone kinda assumes the NBA will throw huge sums of money at this project, but so far there's no real sign of that. No confirmed investors, no city commitments, nothing concrete. According to Silver, literally nothing is agreed yet. Like I mentioned, he said it's at least a couple of years from launching and described it as an enormous undertaking. He also added that the timeline we're looking at now is more like 2028, around the time of the LA Olympics. That's already 2 years later than the initial reports that it could start as early as 2026. And even if they do manage to pull it off in, let's say, 3 or 4 years, the bigger question still stands. Will European fans actually buy into this? Because it's one thing to launch a league, it's another thing to make it matter. The EuroLeague has rivalries that go back decades. You just can't manufacture the feeling of Olympiacos playing Panathinaikos in a packed arena if it's gonna be Man City versus London. That takes time, and hearing how they're talking about this project, it seems that the NBA doesn't fully understand that. So to answer the original question, no, the NBA Europe is not happening anytime soon. The NBA is exploring and that's it, but just by being in the conversation, they're already shaking things up. For now though, this story is still developing. I'll keep following it and update you the moment anything real is confirmed. But until then, let's agree to ignore every vague quote about possibilities, conversations, cause we've heard that 100 times already. Now let me know what you think. If NBA Europe does happen, which teams would you want to be there? And would you watch it over the EuroLeague? Drop those thoughts in the comments below, check out our merch on shop.basketnews.com, also like this video and subscribe for more content just like this.